Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Touch of Evil is a 1958 movie that was written and directed by Orson Welles. He also stars in the film. The screenplay was loosely based on a novel from 1956 called Badge of Evil. The rest of the cast includes Charlton Heston, Janet Leigh, Joseph Kalia, Akim Tamaroff, and Marlene Dietrich. The storyline goes that Mexican narcotics officer Ramon Miguel Mike Vargas has to interrupt his honeymoon on the Mexican-U.S. border when an American building contractor is killed after someone places a bomb inside his car. He's killed on the U.S. side of the border, but it's clear that that bomb was placed in his car on the Mexican side. As a result, Vargas delays his return to Mexico City, where he has been mounting a case against the Grande family crime and narcotics syndicate. Police Captain Hank Quinlan is in charge of the U.S. side, and he soon has a suspect, a Mexican named Manlo Sanchez. Vargas is soon into Quinlan and his sergeant, Pete Menzies, when he catches them planting evidence to convict Sanchez. Once he has his new wife, Susie, safely tucked away in a hotel on the U.S. side of the border, or at least so he thinks, he starts to review Quinlan's earlier cases. While concentrating on the corrupt policeman, however, the Grandes have their own plans for Vargas, and they start with his wife, Susie. The movie was shot in Venice, California, from February 18th of 1957 to April 2nd, 1957. It was suggested to Orson Welles that he might consider this location over filming in Mexico because part of it was really run down and might fit what he needed. Welles and the cinematographer Russell Meddy and the art directors drove there, and after viewing it, they decided it was a perfect location for the film. There's a distinctive look to this film. The visual style stands alone. It incorporates a deep focus, kind of an off-kilter look, and very low angles. This is done a lot of times to emphasize the size and girth of Quinlan. Other stylistic touches have Orson Welles written all over them. One of the most notable of the stylistic shots in the film is an opening crane shot that runs almost 3.5 minutes. Janet Leigh's role in the film almost didn't happen. Initially, her agent rejected her participation in the film due to the low salary that she was offered. He did this without consulting the actress at all, but being the wise director that he was, Orson Welles anticipated this. He sent her a personal letter telling her how much he looked forward to working with her on the film. The actress became furious. She confronted the agent, telling him that she wanted to be directed by Orson Welles and she could care less about the paycheck. The opening scene took an entire night to get right, mainly because the actor playing the customs officer kept blowing his lines. It was beginning to get light on the horizon when Orson Welles made the final take of the night, stating to the cast, "All right, let's try to get this one right. Let's do it one more time." Then he looked straight at the actor that was causing the problems and told him, "If you forget your line this time, just move your lips and we'll dub it in later on. And please do not say, 'I'm sorry, Mr. Welles.'" They did the take, and that's the one you see in the final cut of the film. Despite a lot of speculation, Orson Welles is wearing makeup throughout the film. For hours every night that the filming was done, they added pounds and pounds onto him and used prosthetics for his face. He once said that he was late going to a dinner party at his house during the filming, and he arrived with his makeup still on. One of the famous actresses there, who we don't know who it was, walks up to him and says, in all sincerity, "Orson, you look wonderful." Welles said he loved doing this movie. He said of all the films he did, this was probably the most fun to make, because unlike most of his Hollywood films, he wasn't troubled by studio interference. At least during the production of the film, he wasn't. He was given a very healthy budget, and he was working with some of his favorite actors on a script that didn't involve as much symbolism and all-out cinematic trickery as something like Citizen Kane did. He stated that the goal of the film was to infuriate the audience with the plot, in much the same way that Howard Hawks did with The Big Sleep from 1946. Welles wrote in the part that Marlene Dietrich played after filming had already begun. Calling her the night before, he wished to film her scenes to offer her the part. The executives with Universal Pictures only found out that she was playing the role of Tanya when they saw the rushes for that day's shooting. She had filmed her entire part all in one day as a personal favor to Orson Welles, and he didn't tell anybody at the studio about it. She agreed to appear at a minimum union wage, but when the studio executives decided to give her on-screen credit, they had to pay her much more. Initially, Orson Welles was hired only to act in the film, but due to a misunderstanding, Charlton Heston thought that Welles was going to be the director. To keep Heston happy, the producer allowed Welles to direct the film. He went on to make major changes to the already completed script, including changing Heston's character from a white district attorney to a Mexican narcotics agent, and changing Janet Leigh's character from Mexican to American. Then finally substituting the town that it was set in from a small California town to a Mexican-American border town. Janet Leigh has stated that the director asked for input from all the actors in the cast before they started rehearsals. These rehearsals started 2 weeks prior to shooting, and during this time, a lot of the dialogue was rewritten. It was a very collective effort that created a surge of participation and creative energy. It felt almost like you were inventing something as you went along. She states that the director made everybody feel involved in the picture. Welles encouraged Dennis Weaver to improvise his role as the strange hotel manager, and together they created this unique character that ran counter to Weaver's role in Gunsmoke. It's worth watching this movie just to see Dennis Weaver's performance. Janet Leigh broke her arm before filming started, but she appeared in the role nonetheless. The amazing thing about this is that her arm was in a cast most of the time. It was hidden from the camera for many scenes. In the more revealing motel scenes, the cast was removed for the shoot and then reapplied afterwards. Now, one of the most amazing shots in the film, and one of the most startling shots, takes place with the actor Akim Tamiroff. In his death scene, they required him to stick the butt of a lamb's tongue into his mouth for this grotesquely filmed shoot. Welles felt that this was necessary to achieve the proper effect that he wanted. A criminal who had been strangled so savagely that his tongue was unnaturally distended from his mouth. As it turns out, the studio initially thought that this lamb's tongue proved to be too disgusting to show on screen, and it was thought that the actor went through all this ordeal for nothing. But when you watch the Amazon Prime streaming of this, you see the cut that was taken out from the initial release. It's pretty obvious that what's hanging out of his mouth is not his real tongue. If you like the quality and the style of Orson Welles movies, you'll love this film. I think it's a great movie, and I hope you'll take the time to watch it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.